Hey there, and welcome to Chapter 3, Workflow and Saving. Now, it's a super quick chapter. I wanted to help you guys work just a little bit faster in Photoshop, as well as learn how to save your files properly so they show up really great on the web, and you have a working file for your own resources so you can go back and change it at any time. So, one of the biggest things that I find helps me work faster and more efficiently in Photoshop is using and learning and creating keyboard shortcuts. So in this quick video, I'm going to show you guys how to find the keyboard shortcuts that are already in Photoshop, as well as how to create your own. All right, let's go ahead and jump into Photoshop. So we're going to open up our sample image now. Let's go to our Chapter 3, Workflow and Saving, number 1, keyboard shortcuts, and here we go, keyboard shortcuts.jpg. Now we're not going to really do that much with this image here, but it is a keyboard, so I thought that was kind of cute. Now let's go ahead and start off with our first keyboard shortcut. We're going to be creating a new layer, something that I do all the time in Photoshop. So you can obviously just, go right over here to the new layer icon. That totally works. Keyboard shortcut for that is Shift Option Command N. That will create a new layer. Okay, if you guys are on a PC, it's going to be Shift Alt Control N. We'll put those keyboard shortcuts on the screen for you. So how do you know what the keyboard shortcuts are and where the keyboard shortcuts are located? Well, first of all, you can find those in your menus. For instance, if I go to Layer, okay, I can go to New, and there we see Shift Command N. And Shift Command N will create a new layer, but that will do it with a dialog box. That's why I recommend using Shift Option Command N. Now, we can see Layer via Copy, Command J. All of these keyboard shortcuts are here listed in the menu. So this can be a really great place to find your keyboard shortcuts. Now, you can see some of these are incomplete, like Group, for instance. Well, there is no keyboard shortcut right now for Group. Okay. Now, you can group layers with themselves by hitting Control or Command G, but if you just wanted to create a new group, as it is, there's no keyboard shortcut. Now, one of the things that I find super interesting is that Photoshop does not actually come with a keyboard shortcut for creating your own layer mask, which I use layer masks all the time to show and hide layers. It's one of the most common things that I'm doing in Photoshop. So when it comes to basically any command that you're doing all the time, I highly recommend either finding the keyboard shortcut or creating your own. So now let's go ahead and show you guys how to find all of the existing shortcuts that are in Photoshop. So to find the shortcuts, we're going to go to Edit and down to Keyboard Shortcuts. There we go. So here your keyboard shortcut. Basically this menu is really great. You can open up your file menu here and you can see all of the keyboard shortcuts that exist within Photoshop. Now my recommendation is actually clicking on this little summarize key. Let's go ahead and click there. There we go. Now I'm going to just put this on my desktop really quick. It's going to create an HTML file, and basically this is just a web file of the keyboard shortcuts that are actually on in your configuration of Photoshop. So this is not a standardized list. This is actually how your keyboard shortcuts are set up on your computer. So let's hit save there. There we go. And we can see in this case, let's just make this full screen here. We can see that this is actually the keyboard shortcuts that are in my computer or for my version of Photoshop. So if you ever need to find anything, this is a great way to do that. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is how to create your own keyboard shortcuts. So a second ago we mentioned there is no keyboard shortcut by default for creating a layer mask on a layer. So let's go ahead and show you guys how to create one. So getting back in Photoshop, my layer mask command is here under layer. So let's go ahead and open up layer. Now we're going to go scroll down until we see our layer mask. There we go. So this is a menu item right here. So layer and then layer mask would be a menu item. And here we can see there are no keyboard shortcuts for our layer mask. Now, a reveal all layer mask, this is just a white layer mask. So you can see there is no keyboard shortcut for it. So I'm going to click right here and then actually just hold down the keys that I want to use to create this keyboard shortcut. Now, mask M makes sense to me. So I'm going to hit Shift Option Command M and I'm going to make that my own layer mask command. So let's hit Shift Option Command M. There we go. And we can see it actually places it in there. I'm going to hit Accept. Now, if let's say I click over here and I try to hit the same keyboard shortcut, it's actually going to say, hey, this is already in use somewhere else. So you can choose to undo it, or you can say accept and go to conflict. If you hit accept and go to conflict, it sets that keyboard shortcut in right there and removes it from the original one. Okay, so the way that I generally do this, there we go, if I'm using an option pretty frequently, that's what I want to set to something I'm going to remember. If it's something like content aware scale, I don't use that very often, so I'd be okay removing that from something else if I found that to be pretty useful. And then the second tip is, most of the time, holding Shift, Option, and Command, if you're on a Mac, or if you're on a PC, Shift, Alt, and Control, and then a key, most of the time those are going to be free. So for my own keyboard shortcuts, that's usually what I'll do. So Mask, Option, Shift, Command, M, that makes a lot of sense. I also have one set up for high pass filter, because I use that a lot with sharpening. Shift, Option, Command, H is what I use for that. I have one set up for Gaussian blur. Shift, Option, and Command G is what I use for Gaussian blur. So all these, holding down the three keys, Shift, Option, Command, or Shift, Alt, Control, and hitting a button, those are going to be available most of the time. Alright, so we just made our keyboard shortcut for adding a layer mask. Let's go ahead and check it out and make sure it works. So I'm going to create a new layer, Shift, Option, Command, N, as in new. Okay, let's hit B for the brush tool. I'm going to just rotate this around, and we're just going to act like I'm writing in my diary. Dear diary, today was great. Alright, pop, 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 and I'll put some hearts in there so everyone knows I had just a great day. Okay, so now let's go ahead and add our layer mask. Shift, Option, Command, M, as in mask, and I'm just going to paint black over one of these hearts. I'm going to say, you know what, one heart is totally good enough for today. So you can see it just increases our workflow speed just a little bit faster. I'm not always having to go and search for, click on this tiny little button for a layer mask. It just makes it a lot faster. So if you're interested in speeding up your workflow, make sure to go to Edit and down to your keyboard shortcuts. There you can find the existing keyboard shortcuts that already come with Photoshop, as well as create your own. You're going to see you're going to be working much, much faster. It's really going to change the way you work in Photoshop. Alright guys, well thank you so much. I'll see you in the next section where we're going to show you how to quick export out individual layers as files. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next video.